Hey everybody, welcome to a new segment we're doing here at Watermark OC Church. Some of you may have heard of the broadcast show from John Krasinski called Some Good News. That's the SGN network. Well, this is a rivaling telebroadcast which is called The Good News. I don't think there's any higher level of it than that. This is our attempt, you guys, to, in line with our new upcoming series this weekend, which is the point of our broadcast coming to you this evening that we want to tell you about is this new series called Lighten Up. That's the whole reason we've come together. But we thought, man, in light of this new series, that we would have a little fun ourselves, because why not? We are doing church through a camera these days, and we have an opportunity to mix it up and do something fresh and new. It was actually Patrick Hardy's idea. So when you see Patrick, tag him in a post online or shoot him an email and just say, great idea. But essentially here we are with our late night meets news broadcast, Watermark OC edition. And I just want to say, right as we're beginning, this is Bucky's new publication, new book that he just came out with. I don't know, we probably can't get a Zoom, but you can go ahead and just look at that. This is amazing that you came up with this.
Yeah, this is actually a book of good news.
Yeah.
And I decided there weren't many books out there right now about good news, so I decided to do my own version of good news. I'm calling it the Holy Bible.
Yeah.
Do you like that name? I think it's a catchy title.
What you can say about it is that it's extremely original. So we know that much.
Yeah, I think it's going to sell really well. I hope it might become the bestseller of all time.
It will, absolutely. So, guys, if you're tuning in, congratulations. You just made it through the dad humor segment of the show. It's amazing, and we're just warming up. It's going to get so much better. I have all my cue cards here. These are not official 5x8 cards. These are envelopes that I found in the office. But, for your purposes at home, you don't need to know that. We're ready. I have my #1 mom mug.
Awesome.
You know why, right?
I know why.
Why?
I know who your #1 mom is.
Oh gosh, now I'm in the hot seat. Who's it?
Yeah, because I see her every day. I wake up in the morning and I stare at her. I know who your #1 mom is. Sorry, Mom.
My mom-in-law?
Mom-in-law?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I am. I want everyone to know, watching at home, on a rather serious note, I am financially and legally obligated to agree with that statement. Yes, my mom-in-law is the #1 mom.
It could cost him his job if he doesn't give the right answer to this question.
Yeah, it's on the line. Everything's on the line right now for that. So we want to go through some biographical information. I have my guest here, of course. Again, this is Late Night Meets News broadcast, Lighten Up version, featuring Ben and Bucky. Bucky, of course, is my guest. If you couldn't tell, I'm in a suit. Bucky's almost in a suit, so he must be the guest. I'm, of course, the host. And we're going to go through some biographical information before we get into the series that we're really here to talk about. And I just want to know, just to break the ice here, Bucky, what's our first question? We're in a time of crisis. What was a crisis that you had growing up?
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, adolescence is a time where you have all kinds of crisis. I transferred schools. I went from a school in Palos Verdes to a school in Long Beach. And I remember the first day in English class, I didn't know any of the students. And you had to write a little answer to a question and hand it in. And then the teacher was going to call upon your name and ask you why you answered that way. Uh-huh. And the teacher didn't read my name very well when I wrote it. And she said, Buffy Dennis? Is there a Buffy Dennis in the room?
That's
so here
amazing.
I am having to claim, it's not Buffy, it's Bucky in front of all these people I don't know. And that was a laughing time. That was a crisis for me.
Oh, man, it's too bad. It's probably fortunate for your sake that this was all before Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
That's
amazing
right.
90s television series.
I would have been famous about that time.
That's right. And then it would have been flipped it, and you would have been the coolest kid in school.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's tragic, but I'm afraid it doesn't beat my tragic story.
What's yours?
From elementary school. So some of you may or may not know, I met my wife, this fine gentleman's daughter, in the 4th grade. That's right, folks. Get out your tissue boxes. It's sweet, isn't it? It's so adorable. And I just lost my chair all the way down here. So it's no big deal. I'm already little enough, something my mom-in-law reminds me of at least every week. And now I have to be dwarfed by this microphone. Let's come down here. Perfect. And it was in that 4th grade year, actually 5th grade, 1 year later, where Riley and I, were we in the same class? I have my mom-in-law standing by. She's here to help the audience. Yeah, I think we both had Mr. John Kimsey. Shout out John Kimsey, one of the most influential men in my life. Amazing educator, really refreshed.
Great teacher.
Yeah, he's awesome. And we had this thing where we're lining up at the door, of course, because that's what you do when you're in elementary school. You're constantly in lines. And we're lined up in the door ready to go to, I think, PE, or we just come from PE and we're going somewhere else. And
I
didn't
hope
have
you were social distancing from my daughter at this time. It's fourth grade, Ben.
Yeah, no, I did. No, I assure you, it was totally innocent. Yeah,
Okay.
no, we were. I had romantical interest in her closest friend, so it was quite awkward.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's okay. Mom approves. Mom-in-law, I mean, approves. And so we're in line, and I didn't have a gym bag for whatever reason, and I had a change of clothes, which was my PE clothes, and I would like to tell this story from my first-person view, but the fact is, I didn't see what had happened. And what was happening in the room was that someone's underwear had hit the floor. So all of these sweet fifth grade kids standing in line, and there's a piece of underwear on the floor, and I'm actually completely ignorant to this scenario. I'm thinking, oh, some other poor son of a gun's underwear has hit the floor, and that had nothing to do with me. It's all good. Come to find out moments later when the teacher, John Kimsey, so tactfully, I think just kicked them away or scooped them up or whatever and passed the whole issue out of hand. I'm heading now to PE or heading home, and I realize there's no underwear in my bundle of clothes in my lap. So it's definitely Ben Appleby's underwear that was.
Wow, that's a real slice of authenticity there, Ben.
I'm just being real. Everyone, hey, underwear, this is a church where we talk about these things openly. Underwear is a real thing. It's a real reality.
The question is, was it holy underwear or was it?
The underwear was, I'm just going to say this for the kids at home watching, it was not in the best shape. These underwears were not in the best shape. I'm just going to leave it right there at that. Okay, so that's great. So that was a crisis that we both faced as kids. I want to know next, what is your favorite late night? Just why not? That's a good one. That's an easy one.
I love watching late night and actually just continue to partake even now. Johnny Carson, he's the best guy out there. Johnny Carson is #1 in terms of late night TV. He's awesome. You got to catch him.
Such a dinosaur. I've just changed from interviewing our pastor to interviewing a dinosaur because half the people at home don't even know who Johnny Carson is. I thought you were going to say Jimmy Fallon. That's awesome. He's a classic.
Oh, who's Jimmy Fallon?
Jimmy Fallon. He's the guy. He's my hero. That's what I'm trying to be right now.
Oh, He's looking up to Johnny Carson.
That's right. Okay, maybe he is. Well, they're all imitators. I'd already answered for myself. I love Jimmy Fallon. I think he's hilarious. I loved watching him at SNL. The games they do on that show are just too funny. So we don't have those games for us today, but maybe if we get enough comments, enough shares, and enough feedback from you, maybe we will do a segment where we have to eat it. It's the game they do. It's like truth or eat it.
Oh.
And it's some nasty, disgusting thing like worms. You guys probably can correct me on the show that I'm totally botching right now. All right, we got one more thing that we're going to do to break the ice, which is what's one thing that you've done for fun to break the Corona crazy at home right now?
Well, we're all trying to learn things. I actually have learned a lot from my dogs. Okay. I have 2 little dachshunds that live in my house, and they have fun every day in lockdown. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned to scratch myself a little bit more.
Good.
I'm taking longer naps. And barking at things outside is actually a lot of fun.
Okay.
The Amazon guy, when he comes out, I join them when we go to the door.
You're
and
part
we
of the
bark at
pack.
the Amazon. I'm part of the pack.
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun learning from my dogs.
This is good. So at this juncture, I'd like to invite folks, if they want to be a part of our prayer ministry, there's lots of people out there that could really use your prayers in this time and place. I'm just going to say this gentleman here that I'm sitting with, he's now become one with the dogs. He's running with wolves. It's beautiful. I've lost my mind in quarantine, for sure. First 2 weeks were rough. Oh man, I would cry.
Because your quarantine is kind of a unique quarantine because you have a lot of people in quarantine with you.
There's so many bodies. People have said, oh, it's an introvert's delight. And there ain't no introversion happening in our home now with 7 young children. First 2 weeks were harsh. Man, what have we been doing now in the 3rd and 4th week to stay sane? Gosh, you know what? We just go for drives. We just get in the car. And this is a tip for parents out there. You got young children and you don't know how to entertain them or how to control them, even for a moment. Seat belts. Thank God for car seats and seat belts. Because at least you go for a drive, it's 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And for us, we stretch that drive. We're driving no particular place at all. You stretch it out to an hour. At least you get an hour of sanity where people are strapped down. That's what we're doing for fun. We're going for drives.
Lock them down and take them from the car. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's lockdown with.
I'm going to have to try that with my wife, actually.
She needs a little bit of help. She's going crazy. We now know she's living with a pack of dogs, so it's not surprising. Perfect. Okay, so this is what we want to do. We have one more extra special segment before we actually get to the heart of the content for this evening. And that is a little thing we like to call a contest, a cordial contest, a respectable and honorable, a contest of honor between 2 men. Now, some of you may know that a few months ago, we announced here at Watermark, we have a generational succession plan in place, a passing of the generational baton between yourself and me. And yet, if some of you didn't know that, there's a whole part of the website, Succession FAQs. Welcome to Watermark. It's a big announcement, and we have lots of details and letters we could send you in terms of that announcement. But in all the feedback that we're getting, Bucky, there's some really, really important things that are coming through. And so we just wanted to address it really quickly here on the show. And that question is, quite simply, who is the better, stronger, faster pastor?
Oh, we're gonna do some Bible trivia.
Well, no, heavens no. This is not about this. You can take this and maybe you'll need to use that later. No, this is about push-ups.
Push-ups?
Yeah, just I heard from your wife who's here that you've been working your butt off in quarantine, that you have a personal gym. It has about 2 pieces of weights in it, but you have your personal gym, you got an indoor-outdoor bike. You've been working out a lot.
I've been working out hard, Ben.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to go down this road or not.
Well, would you say that you're in some of the best shape of your life or not? It's a basic question.
Yeah, most people are commenting on my physique and saying I'm probably in the best shape of my life.
They have been commenting. Yeah, by the way, Buck is a new Instagram user, so find him on Instagram. He may not follow you back for weeks because he doesn't know how the app works, but you can still follow him, and then I'll help him and we'll start following you. But they've been commenting, and so it should be fair because I'm in the worst shape of my life. I have actual dad bod, which is what happens when you let it slip a little bit and you have young children. So it's even.
Right.
Okay, great. So we're going to do this right now. Kathleen is here to help us, and she's going to set the timer. Let's get into place, Bucky.
I'm going to stretch out before.
Yeah. Let's be wise. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and set the timer for 30 seconds. It's pretty straight up and down. Don't injure yourself. I need you around for many things, not least of which helping me take care of these 7
grandbabies. I don't think you got
to
worry about me, young guy.
Okay, all right, cool. So it's very simple. It's just as many push-ups as possible in 30 seconds.
All right.
Okay? And our assistant here, our lovely assistant, is going to say a 3, 2, 1, go, and then you're going to just start the clock, right?
Yep.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'm getting tired, Ben. Oh, gosh. Do you ever snap when you're doing these, Ben?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, man. Woo!
Good job, young fella.
Good contest. Way to go. Awesome. Good. Oh. Good. Okay. Did you notice
I think we might want to rethink the succession plan a little bit, Ben.
I'm not fit. I'm just going to come out and confess to the whole church I'm not fit. I'm not able-bodied. Those who know, being a pastor is an extremely strenuous work in the mind, body, and soul. So, but at least I looked good doing it.
Yeah.
Did you notice I didn't take the jacket off?
You looked really good.
Thank
really
you.
good. But see, if you got one of these, one of my new Bibles, you realize there's a workout plan right in here.
Yeah.
And you can actually work out and read the Bible at the same time.
Yeah.
It's called Holy Bible Curling. I do this at least 3 or 4 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
I read the Bible while I curl.
Yeah. That's good.
And God said, let there be light.
Right.
Let there be light. See,
Right.
Ben, you got to learn how to multiple task,
Right.
spiritual workout, physical workout. You can do this at the same time.
Yeah.
That'll help you in the future, my son.
Class is in session. Thank you so much for that. Just a quick follow-up question. If you're so good at these curls, how come you never got out of Genesis 1? That's what I want to know.
Because I like to go deep before I go wide.
That's right. Okay, good. Enough fun and games. This is the Good News Network, not some. Let me work the chair. The chair is from 1986, in case you're wondering. It's as old as I am. Let me just put my foot down and get it up. That's good. So we're going to get into what we're actually here to do, you guys, which is to talk about, I guess I am the bigger man now.
Yeah, I am really looking up to you now, Ben.
And we're going down slowly. Lighten Up is a new teaching series that begins.
We're trying to lighten things up a little bit.
It's so needed, you guys, and we want to go through. The subtitle is Finding the Fun in Faith. And man, I think this is the right series for this time, don't you?
Yeah, I think it totally is. I think we're in this time of just really heaviness, right, in our land. All we get through the news is mainly bad news versus good news.
Right.
We're in lockdown, and we tend to be isolated in our fears. And so things become heavy. It becomes a really burdensome, hard, serious time. And so we need a little lightness in our life.
Yeah, I think so too. And this weekend, I'm going to set the course for the introduction a little bit of why this series. Why do we think God has led us to this series? And, just going all the way back to this, the good news, it's a reminder that it is for everyone, that it is still good news, in thick and thin, in crisis or in good times, it's still the best news the world has ever known. And so we have basically three ideas of why this series we want to kind of walk you guys through. And the very first one that we've already kind of been talking about is that fun is really a means of survival. It is. You can look at the science, you can look at the psychology, you can talk to people, talk to the previous generation before you about how they survived tough things, how they made it through crisis, how the greatest generation made it through wartime. And they will tell you that the ability to keep things light, to find humor, to find joy, to find delight, even in the worst of times, is a mark of keeping your sanity and staying healthy, mind, body, and soul. Really, those go together. And finding a way to laugh, finding a way to enjoy one another, even from a distance, is really what we need right now. So number one, the most obvious answer, why lighten up? Because it's a survival guide for right now.
Yeah, it's so needed. And I think, Jesus, he lived in a very serious time where religious people were very serious in Israel. The Pharisees, man, they were heavy in terms of the law and burden. Mm-hmm. And there was a heavy burden because there was Roman oppression. Right. And what did Jesus do? He took a little child, he put him right in the center of these disciples and said, unless you become like this little child, you don't even understand the kingdom of heaven. Yeah. And when I look at your little children, when they come over to my house, I mean, I'm forced to lighten up because they see life through such simple, fun faith, and they can enjoy it way more than I can. And so it just helps me. How do I learn to lighten up? Because that's really what God's all about, not heavy burdens.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that applies to one of the things we're going to talk about in a second, but I agree. Looking at the kid's face in a moment when I'm stuck there and you have no other choice, and you think about those words of Jesus, he becomes humanized, he becomes fatherly. And why would he have said that if he didn't take himself too seriously? Why would he have made a permission to be with small children if there wasn't a lightness, if there wasn't a levity that Jesus was okay with? So I think that's so important for our times. Both of us have shared that it's even a challenge for us to put the word fun in a church, a modern day church, context like ours, because even that seems like, man, that's a little too liberal, that's a little bit too pushing the envelope.
Yeah, you feel guilty if you have fun sometimes. Guys, spiritual people don't have fun. They have to be serious. They have to be so intense. And so, we struggle with that.
Right. Yeah. So even that's us kind of pushing our own boundaries. And we hope that you guys will follow us in that. So that's the first big idea for why this series is, it's timely. It's timely. That's the first thing. The second thing that we think about this series is that it's important for our witness. In a time of crisis, which was not unprecedented for God's chosen people, for the people of the Bible, Old Testament and New. They knew crisis, they knew suffering, they knew persecution, and yet they knew how to hold fast to the promises of God. They knew how to stand on the good news in a way that was their life source. And so people saw that. What is it with these Christians, What is it with these people that even though they're suffering, even though they're going to jail for their faith, they're not forsaking their testimony, they're not abandoning or rejecting their faith or trusting God during these times. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons we need this series right now, for speaking to Christians who are watching, speaking to our people, our Watermark families and cherished guests. The world is watching, and we have to look different than the rest of the world when they churn to despair, chronic fear, and paralyzing anxiety. Not that feelings are bad, right, Bucky? I mean, right. We are a church that believes God felt. Jesus wept, the shortest verse of all time. Jesus had feelings. It's healthy and good. But how do we run to God with those feelings and still show people that the outsiders, those outside the church, that we're filled with hope and faith?
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful that somehow, because we have Christ, we have his presence in our life, we can look at the troubles and the trials through a different set of lenses, and we can move from the heaviness and burden as we off those off, and we can replace that with joy and with singing and praise, and with lightening up with laughter and fun. So those are things that are redeeming, even in the most difficult times, to help us through.
Yeah, and remember, this is a study in the book of Acts. I don't know if I mentioned that. But you have these first century Christians, the very first Christians, the very first church, and they go through crazy, difficult challenges and trials and suffering, and yet they're having the most fun of all time. This church, as we're going to find out, as you're going to find out from this series, this 6, 7, 8 week series, you're going to find out that these people, they enjoyed one another's company because they could sometimes, not all the time. They may have to be in hiding sometimes. But when they came together, they had the most fun. They were generous. They shared everything. People got healed. People heard from God in a powerful way. The presence of God fell on them in a unique, historic way. And on and on and on. These people, they were having fun. They knew joy. They knew delight, even during the toughest times.
Yeah, and so we can redeem that word fun. Fun means something in our culture, and it usually has a negative connotation for spiritual people. But God invented fun.
That's right.
He redeemed that word in the Acts 2 community. And we see them having fun, enjoying, delighting in the things that God's called them to. It can be fun to be a Christian. It doesn't all have to be just serious burden.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I love that. So the first thing is it's timely. Why are we doing this series called Lighten Up? Because it's timely. The second thing that we want to do this series for is because for our witness, those people who are watching. How's the church going to respond? How are the people of God going to respond? Is it still good news? It's important for our witness. Finally, the third thing, and there may be 4, 5, 6 as the series continues, but what we know right now, why we were convinced to do this series, is because our tradition needs it. Well, what do I mean by tradition? And Bucky, you can help me here on this, but of course, you know there's so many traditions even within the Christian faith. There's many denominations. There's many styles of worship, styles of message, style of church programs. And our particular tradition, being from a Reformed background, inspired by some particular theologians over history, it's a strong, dependable, traditional Protestant tradition. But in this tradition, sometimes we've tended to overemphasize the suffering. We've overemphasized the pain. And it's actually, you guys, we believe, has led this tradition, what we're known for, as being more puritanical. You remember the Puritans, right? The early colonial people. And it was rights and wrongs, and it's a tough, gnarly, painful time. And then again, those watching, and even those newcomers to the church family, what do they think? What do they begin to know about God and Jesus, except for that he's just ready to buzz us and get us in trouble? And if we're not constantly just whipping ourselves into shape, we're not doing it right.
Right. After Lent is kind of a part of that whole thing. We're gonna take down Lent. We're gonna be serious. We're gonna fast. We're gonna deny ourselves, which is a beautiful season, preparing for Easter. Right. Mm-hmm. The cross. We nail our sins. We go through all that serious, wonderful stuff. And then Easter happens, and man, it's a celebration. Do we take as much time to celebrate after Easter as we do to consecrate before Easter? Both of those things are important in the rhythm of our faith, and we need to have celebration, especially in a time when it's been so serious and difficult in this season with the coronavirus, all difficult, real stuff.
Right.
How do we still have celebration in the midst of that challenge? I think that's what's needed for all of us.
Absolutely. And so we're hoping that that will shape a culture for us, you guys, as a church on this third big idea of why Lighten Up, that we can all participate with one another in terms of changing the way, not just the way the church is known and seen, but the way you understand your relationship with Jesus, because it will impact your Jesus following. This series will impact the way you understand God and his son and how we are to relate with him. Back to your picture of Jesus saying, let the little children come to me. You know, I got to believe that Jesus was cracking jokes with the disciples.
Yeah, I mean, even in my meditation, I can picture Jesus crying in front of the Lazarus tomb. Mm-hmm. I can picture him really having a serious devotional Bible study with his disciples and teaching them. I can picture him going face to face with the Pharisees having an argument, but it's harder for me to picture him laughing and playing, being playful, wrestling with his disciples, right?
Yeah.
Telling a joke and them all cracking up and just laughing and belly laughing on the ground. That's the Jesus that's hard for me to imagine, and yet that's the place that I need a little bit more of. Because Jesus was a human. He's just as real as we are. He enjoyed life, and not only the things he had to do, but he enjoyed life with people.
Yeah.
That's a part of our spirituality.
Oh, I love that picture. Yeah. That's a wonderful place to wind down on. Plus, I am sweating. I got to get out of this jacket. The charade is over. The show is over, and yet it continues. So stay tuned this weekend and the successive weeks afterwards, because Lighten Up is going to be a doozy. It's going to be a blast.
We're going to learn a lot. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to laugh together.
We are indeed. We hope that you will join us. Thanks for watching, you guys.
Lighten Up.